Good morning, YouTube, and especially smiling because I gave my daughter a stuffed kitten and she loves it. Even though we have dogs, but she likes the kitty. So, but to get on to the point here, the video is going to be about leaving your party in the United States and kind of doing what the right thing should be for the first time. I listened to the Tulsi Gabbard thing and with Joe Rogan, and I've always been more of a libertarian conservative. Because I do value some of the values that the conservatives do, and I also have a lot of values of libertarian values. So it's kind of been like a weird mixture for me, but everyone always says and everyone always knows if you vote for, the libertarian or the middle or independent, it actually is like throwing away your ballot, so they say. But I don't think either party is solid right now. I don't think either party agrees on everything. The younger generations like me and people that I know and a lot of other ones are growing up differently. We're thinking differently. We don't want the same old school values like pot. I don't think half of the Republicans that are Republican or even conservatives even care about pot. Some of the people like Candace Owens and a few of the other ones, which I like, go on and about, how pot's bad, pot's this, and so is alcohol. Alcohol is really bad. If you think about it and if you use common sense, if you drink three, four drinks, you're drunk. Can you drive after that? No. If you have a joint to relax you, can you drive on a joint? Absolutely. Can both substances be abused? 200%. I do not say that you can't be too high. I do not say that you can't be too drunk. But I do not think we should have it illegal. I do not think people should be in jail for simple possession of it. I don't think you should be arrested for that. I don't think you should be, I mean, an ounce, 2 ounces, I don't think you should be worried about. Of course, when you get to the dealing part, that's a different story. Um, but I don't think dealers of pot only should be held as hard as, let's say, dealers of, I don't know, heroin, mescaline, anything crazy like that. But it's a little bit different for me. So I think we should take it in stride, and we should, if the Republicans want to make more headway, be more lenient and obvious about the pot, because we all know, almost everyone that I know smokes pot. Everyone that I know who knows someone who smoked pot. Um, so that should be a subject that the Republicans actually kind of take on themselves and say, hey, look, we're going to try to federally make this not a crime. And we're going to try to make it federally, medically. And that would make the Republican Party infinitely better right now. The Democrats right now, all they want to talk about is transgendering your kids and hate speech. It's weird because it's like back in the day, the Republicans were all for the Bush and the Iraq wars, and the Democrats hated the wars and all this other stuff. Going into Obama, they hated the wars, this, and that. Like, let's get out of this. Military-industrial complex is horrible, blah, 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 blah. But now with Ukraine, it's military-industrial complex, 400%. We need to give them as much money as we can possibly afford, even though we can't afford it. And even though it's not our war, we shouldn't really be doing it. Sorry, my screen is shaky because I'm touching the table. Um, but we shouldn't be doing that. We shouldn't be involving ourselves with Ukraine. And regardless of what these new bot armies are saying online, before 2022 and before Biden and his son were over there making all this corrupt money, everybody knew Ukraine to be the most corrupt place. If you go back to Russian politics, this is me going and doing world politics. Back when Putin first came in office, he cleaned up crime. And he kind of did like Rudy Giuliani did to New York. And you can hate both of them. I'm not saying I'm pro Putin. I'm not saying I'm pro anybody else. I'm just giving you a history lesson. So when Putin came into power in Russia, he cleaned up a ton of the old oligarchs. A ton of people fled and they all went to Ukraine. This is all history. This is real Russian history. A lot of the oligarchs fled and they all went to Ukraine. They set up shop there. And then Ukraine became one of the worst places to possibly be because of all the corruption, because of all the old Russian oligarchs that were there originally from, the worst times in the world. Russia was not a good place for a while. It's still not the best place, but it's gotten a lot better over the years. I'm not a Putin apologist. I don't care about Putin. I don't think he's a great man, but he's a strong man. He's not going to be what anyone else here thinks is weak. You guys want to call him weak? I don't think he is. I think he's a very strong man. I think he's going to keep doing what he wants to do, no matter what the U.S. lies about and says. And I know most of the world follows what the U.S. says and parrots what they say. Like there was an article yesterday about Elon Musk saying he talked to Putin, and even though he said he didn't do it, it was then shared millions and millions of times, even though he just said and refuted the article immediately as soon as it was posted. That just shows you how bad the bot armies are on the internet. Um, just to say this whole entire thing that people are even being involved in this and trying to ruin their companies and all this other kind of BS, it just shows you how strong the military industrial complex is and the people in the top of the US. If you don't understand how there are strings being pulled in every direction and how Zelensky was actually installed by the United States, I think you should go do some more research and see what Zelensky was doing before. He was a comedian inside the Ukraine. He wasn't, I mean, if they hate Trump for being a businessman, why do you guys want a comedian to be over there? And the only thing that Zelensky did that everyone loved is he says, I don't need to leave, I need more bullets. And that's what everyone's like, oh, yeah, what a great leader, what a great leader. Sure. If he wanted to stay and fight for his country, that's a great leader, in my opinion. I don't care. I'm not saying that it wasn't a good act or a good gesture, but this is not for the United States to jump into. Um, I get maybe sending some aid, maybe sending some humanitarian aid over, like some of the other places have done, but no one is sending over the hundreds of billions of dollars that the U.S. is going to do. We are sending over advanced weapon systems. We are sending over billions of dollars, billions and billions of dollars of U.S. just pure money. And if we know about the embezzlement already with Hunter and Biden already, then you should know that there's going to be worse, like the pipeline being burst. What happened above the pipeline just before it happened? We all know and we saw there's actual military evidence that there was U.S. Blackhawks, or not Blackhawks, the big ones, the big helicopters that can just float there and they have people inside of them. But there was helicopters floating above the pipeline. And then magically, in a day or two, it gets blown up. And you can see from, I think it was 2015 that they had tried to blow up the pipeline once before. There are pictures online about it. There are pictures of a undetonated drone, I guess, little boat ship, or it was like submarine ship they tried to send down there. It didn't detonate. But the U.S. has been saying they want to destroy Nord Stream. This would be a great opportunity for them, and it's going to do all this. But then we're not making our own oil. We're not making our own oil at all here in the United States. So at the same time, we're killing Russian oil, which is one of the biggest suppliers of oil on earth. And this is what the United States does. I mean, we went into Iraq for WMDs, and then we stayed there for 20 years and did nothing besides blow money, get oil from them, and steal a bunch of stuff. And then what did we do? We pulled out in the most horrific way, leaving thousands and thousands of our own people there, getting their own people killed for even being involved with the USA. And what does the U.S. do? Nothing. Like, we're just done. It's old news. No one cares about it anymore. No one cares about all the lives the USA killed throughout the Iraq War, Pakistan, anything. Like, if you think about how many innocent civilians the USA has killed, and no one has sat there and said, damn, you guys are brutal. Um, I don't know why. I just don't get it. And this is where I'm more of a libertarian, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what side I fall on thinking the way that I do, but I don't think we should sit here and and just vote who you want to vote for just because of the party that they're in. Um, I get Trump. I voted for Trump. I'm not gonna lie. He was way better than who was on the tickets, and I may not like how brash he is sometimes, and he could have toned it down and probably been a little bit better. But from the very beginning, he was plagued um, with people hating him and wanting him out, saying that, oh, TV guy, oh, personality being in office is going to be horrible. He actually wasn't that bad. There were some stupid things he did do for sure, but most of the stuff that was on the media was lies. Like the entire time was lies. And that's the problem in the United States. Lies run everything. And then once the lies are disseminated, no one cares and they just moved on to the next thing. It's just lies perpetrate so easy because the military industrial complex, the media are all in cahoots. And if you don't believe it, you're crazy. There's top powers that go down, and it's the media, it's the software companies, It's like big war companies. Like these big war companies have billions and billions of dollars coming in for free all the time. And if you don't think these people control what their people do, if you don't think that top executives making millions and millions and millions of dollars can say, hey, CNN, you guys are never going to report on this subject. Tell your people, bring it down to chain, have fun, see ya. This topic, no go. This topic, no go. This topic, no go. They blackball the internet. They blackball what goes on so much. And if you don't see that, you're crazy. Um, but now with online stuff, you can start seeing a little bit more come out, and it's good, but it's also bad because we now have troll armies. Twitter is really bad with it. Instagram really bad with it as well too. There's so many bots, and we already know the CIA and NSA and all them have bot armies. They have some of the biggest bot armies ever, that go online and do what they got to do. But it starts that whole way. The USA, like the FBI, told Facebook, do not talk about the Hunter Biden story. Do not do it. And they basically said, if you do it, bad news for you. So what did they do? They covered it up and they said it wasn't a real story. All the big techs did it at the same exact time. They couldn't report on it. It had to be fake news, fake news. And coming out now, it was fucking real news again. But we just can't say it's real news at the time because it's Biden's son. It's all this other bullshit. You got to realize how corrupt the United States is. And that's why probably voting this year, if Trump goes up again, I'm not sure who's going to be actually going up, but I would probably vote for him. But it depends on who the independent or other person is going to be, libertarian. It's just, it doesn't, some of the stuff doesn't make any sense. Like we're sitting here fighting and scrapping over abortion. Like if we just drop, I get it, abortion is horrible. It should be a last ditch effort. Maybe we should put regulations on abortion. Like if you have more than one, why? Um, you know, I get it in life. I've actually had to use abortion, not me, but someone that I was with had to use abortion, and it was because of their mental instability about handling the situation and the time that they were in, which it was my fault. It's something that we should have done better on, and I feel horrible about it. And it's something that you have to think about. And if you have someone who's going in there getting two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine abortions, which is often the case, and they're doing this also in black communities more than anything. You can like to think that it's not, but it is. It's a lot in minority communities. Less and less white people are getting them done. Well, now more and more young white women are just trying to have unprotected sex and then getting abortions because it's fun. It's the new cool thing to do. Um, but I think we do need to step back and look at what our politics and what our parties align to and be careful about that. I don't think you should be locked into an ideology that's like only Republican because Republicans is what my family and whatever my friends believe in. At the same time, you should be able to sit here and debate and talk about other topics like, hey, do you guys realize OnlyFans is what all the girls are doing now? Young girls, and that's what they're going to be into, sex work. Like that's how they're making their money. Most young girls between 18 and 34 are all doing sex work. Most of them have an OnlyFans. Most of them have some kind of Friendsly, Patreon, or something stupid because they don't want to work anymore. So you got to just start changing your minds a little bit about some things and not about others. Pot needs to be one of the biggest things that they decriminalize and they make kind of federally legal and all this other kind of stuff. Like if you don't do that, it's going to just be bad. Um, the first person who does do that, I think, will get the biggest praise in the United States. Because if you can think about alcohol being legal, I don't know why you can't think about weed being legal. It's way safer. It's way better. There's a few other topics that I think should be different, but I'm not going to go into that because that's not what this is about. But it should be, think about your party lines. Don't stick to them. Talk about other candidates that aren't the mainstream. Let's take the mainstream power away from the mainstream. Let's talk about like Tulsi Gabbard. I really have liked Tulsi Gabbard. I've always said this for even 4 or 5 years. I've said Tulsi Gabbard. Even though she was a Democrat, I don't align with the Democrats, especially nowadays. But I've liked Tulsi Gabbard more than I've liked most people in politics when it comes to most stuff. But if you think about it, don't sit with your party. Think about what your party does and how divided our party is right now. If we went and had a candidate go against weed in the Republican Party and one go for it, do you know how many people go to the guy that actually likes weed more? It'd be a little crazy. And I know Candace and I know a few of the other ones like hate weed and demonize it, which is fine. That's all well and good, but you should demonize alcohol as well. And I would expect that Candace and them not want to have a drink of wine at night because that would be the same as me wanting to have a puff of my joint at night. And I would love to debate a conservative on this because I am a sort of libertarian conservative. And, I just think we need to be fiscally more responsible, and not spending or blowing so much money. Like this whole war is just an overextension of what we should not be doing. We should not be in this war. It's a proxy war. It's a U.S. proxy war. We are at war with them, regardless of what anyone thinks, and we are in a recession. No matter what this dumbass in the presidency says, hats off to him for convincing the world and all these dumb little kids that he's some smart, generous man. But their loans also aren't going to be forgiven either if you actually pay attention to it. Not everyone's being forgiven, and private loans are not being forgiven. So probably about a quarter or more are not being forgiven. It's only a certain amount of loans and a certain type of loans are being forgiven. So just my rant for the day. I had to get this off my chest. Watching the bot armies online is just killing me. They don't understand what's about to happen and what could happen. If Putin does get upset and launches a nuke, then it's just crazy. Like New York came out with this video and they said, if nuclear bombs do come out, then get in shelter and go inside your home. Do not go outside. Do not sit in your car. Go inside into the middle of your room. Like, do you realize what nuclear fallout means? Do you realize what would happen? Do you realize that home would not protect you from anything? It's just insane. There are no bunkers for us. There are nothing for the general citizens to go to. There would be handfuls of us being allowed into the secret, you know, bunkers that are allowed for the United States. And guess who would go to those bunkers? All the rich and all the powerful would go to those when everyone else would just die. And people don't understand. If you think that Florida's bad right now, how bad southern Florida is right now. Imagine that being on a scale 50 to 60, 80 times that in the United States. Imagine if a nuclear bomb went off in New York. Imagine if a nuclear bomb went off in Florida, California, anywhere else. We wouldn't even be able to go into that zone because of the radiation to help the people out. People coming out of that would have to be isolated and wouldn't even be able to be around normal people because of their radiation levels that they've been affected with. And the blast radius, it wouldn't be like we can go into a hurricane area and slowly start picking up the lines and start picking up the buildings. It's complete done. Like Chernobyl is still unaccessible. There's still high radiation levels in Chernobyl, and that was from an explosion from a plant. And there's still parts of like Nagasaki and Hiroshima that you just can't go to. They don't even have them open. So you need to realize the devastation that could come from one nuclear bomb. Even if Putin uses precision nukes and minor nukes, not actually full scale like Nagasaki bomb type stuff, you won't be able to inhabitate that land. You won't be able to live there for a very long time, and everyone who lives there is going to be dead. And if you're not understanding what radiation does to you, you're crazy. So as we're getting closer to November, think about your party. Think about who you value going into the offices of whatever you want. Don't strictly think about party lines, is what I'm trying to tell you. Go outside of your party. Do whatever you possibly can to think critically, to use what kind of morals you have, what kind of standards you have. Sorry, excuse me. What you have, and then go from there. So this is a little bit long-winded, and if anyone actually pays attention, I think I get like maybe 10 people watching my videos, maybe max. If it's even people, it could be just bots. But thanks, guys, and hopefully people leave comments because I would love to talk about this with someone. Thanks.